am here with Sarah from SL Therapy again. She's so amazing and I love speaking with her because she's got so much knowledge. Hi Sarah, how are you?
Hello again. We've been kind of locked down, aren't we? So, new topic, same location.
Yes, same location, new topic. So exciting. So today we're going to talk about educational healthcare plans and witness statements and what parents go through in terms of getting their child educational healthcare plan. So, Sarah, question I have is lots of parents are kind of curious of what they should be looking out for when they're trying to get an educational healthcare plan for their child. What advice would you have for them?
I think if any parent's got a concern about their child, the first point of contact is you would normally talk to your school SENCO. They're the person that manages all the children with special needs within the school. So they're a useful point of contact. I sadly have worked on many legal cases where there has been a breakdown between the school and parents, between what the parent perceives as difficulties and the school have not seen any difficulties. So in that case, if you do have a concern as a parent, you can do a parental request for an EHCP plan. I think there's a lot of information that's not sometimes provided to parents or made very clear and transparent at the beginning. You do not need to go through your school to get an EHCP plan. So if you speak to your school and actually they disagree with what you're feeling, you can make a parental request. But in order to do that, whatever route you choose, the amount of evidence that you have to present to the local authority who will meet at panel to decide yes or no they should have a plan is really important. So you have your NHS providers for therapy. Again, a lot of cases I'm involved in, the child is not known to many services or has been discharged, but there is still a very clear need, at which point you can instruct independent clinicians to provide that for you. Educational psychologists, speech therapists like myself, occupational therapists, physiotherapists. I also see independent dietitian reports. Whatever you feel your child needs difficulty with, you are best to source that report from a clinician. But again, to empower parents, when you call up a therapist and ask for an assessment, you must make it really clear what you are requesting. So an initial assessment for a family that we might start working with here at SL Therapy London is a very short report. It's just an hour assessment to get an idea of what the child's difficulties are and what area we would be working on in treatment. If you're going for an EHCP assessment, this is a very different type of report. You want to be getting this from a highly specialist speech therapist who has extensive knowledge and experience of providing such reports. The format and the standard in which they're written is completely different from an initial assessment report. And as such, the pricing is different. So it's really important that you know straight away what you're getting is the right report for you and for the right amount of evidence. So if you were to call SL Therapy London, we will provide you with an example, an anonymised example of the report, so you could see what the standard is and what the difference is, with a breakdown of a quote and the CV profile of the therapist that you'll be working with, so it's very clear. All the therapists here at SL Therapy London have received postgraduate training from Bond Salon. They're a legal firm that deliver expert witness training for clinicians to be able to provide that level of expertise into the report. So we've all had training in excellence in clinical report writing and then also in courtroom skills, which we'll talk about later because that's further down the line. But you want to make sure that your therapist has the right level of expertise for your report. And if they don't, they should be telling you. For example, I did a case last week. A colleague referred a family to me because they'd called her to say, we'd like an EHCP assessment report. She said, I'm not fully qualified to do that. That's not my level, but I can recommend you to someone who does, which is ethically and morally and clinically the best thing to do. So then you have a very detailed report detailing why the clinician feels that child does need an EHCP plan, and then also go into detail what would you include in that plan. So for speech therapy, which is obviously my area, so today that's what we're going to be focused on, Section B where you talk about communication interaction. Section E, which is talk about your outcomes, so what were the targets, what do you want the child to achieve through having this plan, and F, the provision to meet those needs, what level of therapy is required and by who. So all that would be in that initial EHCP assessment report that would then go to panel and make it very clear to them, factually, clinically, this is what the child needs, and actually this is what you should be cutting and pasting into the EHCP plan, so it makes it really easy. I had an EHCP meeting with a local authority last week on Zoom. They had my report, and the case officer who was actually compiling the EHCP said, Sarah, it's just so easy, because I can literally cut and paste your section B, E and F into the final plan, which is what you want. You want to get the plan and get going. So section B is all about what the child's strengths and what their needs are. Section E is the targets, but section F, which is the provision part, and it's where I find that I'm working very hard at the minute as an expert witness, is because that's what many parents feel they need to take the local authority to court over, because it's not quantified enough. So it's a legal document, and it must be legally stated and quantified what the provision should be. No fluffy language, as I say. And that can be seen on a lot of EHCPs that cross my desk when I'm doing expert witness work, may benefit from. Access to, opportunities to. What does that mean? I've been in so many courtrooms where the judge just turned around to the NHS therapist or the local authority and gone, well, what does opportunities mean? How long is that for? Is that 5 minutes a day? Is that an hour a day? It needs to be quantified. So when I write my reports, I will state very clearly who the therapy should be with, what level of expertise that therapy should have, what the therapy should be, where it should take place, for how long, when it would be reviewed. So it's absolutely, completely time efficient in the report. And it's watertight. You can't argue with it. That's what it states it should be.
I think that's really, really good advice and lots of useful information. Lots of parents have this experience where they have a statement and their child's not getting access to the things that are stated on their statement. And your advice about making sure it's explicit in terms of the timing and how much and the quantity is really helpful, and will help a lot of parents, especially from what I've seen while teaching and seeing the parents that I've seen as well. So my question is basically, with speech and language therapy, you're involved in the beginning of the EHCP plan. When else does a parent come to you as a speech therapist for their child with EHC plans?
So a parent will then come to us, and that could be through themselves wanting an expert witness for court, or it could be through a solicitor's firm. So there are lots of solicitors out there that specialise in education law and focus on working with parents around working with firming up and sorting out EHCPs. But also there are lots of legal aid companies out there that provide legal support that we work with. Simpson Miller, Quorum Legal are just two to mention. And I think it's really important that parents are empowered to know that there are different ways to access legal support if they need it. In this case, you see, the parent would go to the solicitor and would put their case to them. Then we would be instructed to provide a speech and language assessment and provide my expert witness opinion on what is wrong with the EHCP, why it isn't correct, and what action needs to be put in it. And then that would be an assessment. At the minute, they're all taking place online. It works really well. All of our assessments are set up for online work. We have completed online legal assessments, from a non-verbal 5-year-old accessing it through Zoom, all the way up to a verbal teenager who's got a language disorder. So there's a wide range of communication needs that have been able to be assessed and work really well to put into a legal report. That report then gets sent, and the best outcome is that you don't have to go to court. The best outcome is that the local authority turn around and go, oh, yes, no, you're right, this is what we need. And actually, I had a case last week. It was a young woman she was about to go to university with she had autism. And as we know, especially girls with autism can very easily mask their difficulties and present them with anxiety and social emotional needs. And she was very explicit in telling me what she felt her needs were and what she needed. We did a full assessment on her. I wrote a 30-page report, and it looked like we were going to have to go to court. And then on Monday night, the night before, I got a phone call from Mum to say the local authority conceded on all your provision points. So this young woman is now going to go to university, having provision for one-to-one therapy once a week with a speech therapist, access to a social skills group, access to a clinical psychologist if she needs it. I know I'm using the fluffy words, but they weren't stated like that in the report. But those are all the areas that she's now going to have in her EHC plan because it goes up to 25. And I think that's a really important thing to remember as well, that age group between 19 and 25 really seem to get missed a lot, and that's a lot of work that we're doing with students, especially if they're in residential college as well. Waking day curriculum is a very pertinent one at the minute. Why does the young person need waking day as opposed to just accessing their local college? That's a whole different webinar, waking day curriculum. I could talk about that one day. Barristers tearing my reports apart as to why they don't think the child needs it, and then I eloquently argue back as to why they do, and why my clinical opinion states that it does, and then we win the case, which is what we want. It's for the young person at the end of the day to get the provision that they need, and that's why we do what we do.
I think that's amazing and so powerful, because there's too many children out there that are being forgotten about, that are going under the radar and not getting access to the speech therapy or the clinical psychologist that they really need that will help them thrive, especially that age bracket that you mentioned, up to 25, because a lot of people consider once they've left school that they're not a child anymore, but they still really have needs. So I think that is amazing, and the work that you're doing is so great to help encourage that. I just want to kind of finish on, do you have any case studies, any other case studies that you'd like to share?
I've got so many. I'm just trying to think the ones that I've mentioned. Young man, non-verbal, autism, sensory processing difficulties, anxiety. Parents this was a legal aid case, were fighting for him to attend a waking day curriculum at a residential college. He was accessing it currently during the day and it was working really well, but he didn't have a communication system in place. He wasn't using PECS, which is a picture exchange system, or he wasn't being able to make his needs known. And during the day when they were working with him, they were setting up a system to do that, but what was happening then that was dropping off because he wasn't able to access that support in the evenings and the weekends. So my argument was that he needed a 24-hour waking day curriculum at the moment to embed his communication system. Again, the barrister was asking on the other side, well, why does it need, and why does he need it after 4 o'clock every day? And my point was, well, you don't switch your voice off at 4 o'clock, do you? Mm-hmm. And that's what this system is. This system is his voice. This is I'm able to give you a photo of a drink, you then know I need a drink. Frustration is lowered, anxiety is lowered, self-esteem rises, he's then communicating in a functional way. She didn't have an answer to that. And I said, he needs to be around specialist trained staff at the residential and at college, which were all under the support and guidance of the speech language therapist, while he embeds his system, because he doesn't have a voice at the minute to use consistently. And I'm very proud to say that we won the case. Mm-hmm. All my therapy recommendations were included, and my argument, of course, went a long way to instill in the judge's decision why he did need a waking day curriculum.
That's amazing. Such a good story. So exciting as well. I just want to thank you, Sarah, because every time I speak to you, there's so much knowledge and so much value that you provide. I think things that I really took away from this conversation was, for one, parents don't have to wait on their schools to get that educational healthcare plan. Another point is, if your child's not getting the services that they require, seek a speech and language therapist. They can help you with expert witness and possibly speaking to the local authority, and if necessary, taking it to the judge. Sarah from SL Therapy London, so excited to have you every time. Thanks again.
Be here and share the knowledge. That's what it's about. It's about empowering the parents. Parents of special needs children, you have enough going on at the minute. I know that. I'm a sibling to a young man now. My brother's now a young man with Down syndrome. So there's much support that we can help. So signpost you along the way. That's what we're here for.
Thank you.